Good morning, Madrid. After this wonderful introduction, I know what you're thinking. If you download Ansible and start using it, you will become Iron Man. I can totally see that, right? But no, the answer is no. However, there are exciting things that could happen in the future, and we will talk about some of those things today. Before we get there, though, let's talk about what happened so far. Last year has been absolutely amazing for Ansible. Is the microphone on? Or I'm just shouting? Which one of the two? Is it working? Yes? Yes? Okay, cool. Amazing year for Ansible. Over 500,000 downloads that became over 1,000 customers in the world. And this 1,000 customers together managed to control over 2 million nodes with Ansible Tower. It's incredible, the amount of systems that are controlled by Tower, and the amount of integration with all sorts of network devices, security devices, storage devices that we actually offer today through the Ansible community and the Red Hat support. But the most amazing achievement, in my opinion, last year was that Ansible, the community project, was contributed so much around the world that it actually is reported by GitHub as the number 7 project most contributed in the world out of 96 million of them. It's an amazing achievement. Actually, if you look at the list of this project, you see the number 5 is Azure documentation. Now, I mean, it's very important. Documentation is exceptionally important, but certainly not helping to run production system. So I would say that we could climb number 6 here. And if you know this, Ansible is more contributed even of Kubernetes, and everybody's talking about Kubernetes this day. So it's an exceptional result. We are very, very proud of it. Customers are loving Ansible. You see that there are just a subset of the many, many, many that we have today, and they are across multiple geographies, and they are across multiple industries. We have government, we have telcos, we have semiconductors, we have banking, of course, we have technology providers. I'll give you some examples. This is especially interesting. The British Army in the UK deployed Ansible, and not just Ansible, to cut the provisioning time up to 75%. This is we're especially proud of this because the British Army puts a lot of emphasis on security, as you can imagine. So for them to select Ansible as a system that is not just easy to use, to deploy, to maintain, to learn, but also is secure enough to be deployed by the Army is an exceptional result for us. Swisscom, Switzerland. This deployment had still has over 10,000 nodes managed by Ansible Tower. And the deployment time, again, has been cut by 70%, an incredible number of machines controlled by the system. This is a semiconductor company in Netherlands, okay? And they deploy Ansible to manage the design of application for thousands of hardware designers in the world. Another massive deployment in terms of scalability. Now, all of this is great, but in a lot of situations, I get requested by press to comment on automation and the fear of losing jobs. This is a number 1 topic that everybody asks me about, and from time to time I give interviews about this topic. And there's always this constant theme of, but wait a minute, if we deploy so much automation, we're going to lose the jobs. And what's happening here, both in terms of community contribution and in terms of customer adoption, is the exact opposite of it. Why is that? And now we should have a video, which is not happening. There we go. That's why. Because when we talk about automation, we envision the system that is actually completely replacing another one. We're not even remotely close to that. The reality of automation is that automation allows you to do something that nobody wants to do, which is scale operation. More things to say in the same amount of time. The power is going to play in that way to achieve more at the same time. Nobody's going to do it. No, this is too much. Okay. So the reality is not that automation is going to steal jobs, at least not in this century probably, but is absolutely necessary to scale the operation and allow all of us to face complexity and manage complexity that are growing in the IT industry today. There are 3 dimensions that are increasing in complexity. 2 of them are well known. One of them is emerging now, is a new complexity that is emerging that we need to face as IT operation people, as developers, as architects. The first one is the scale of cloud infrastructures, okay? Without automation, the scale that we have today is impossible to achieve. There is no other way around. What you see in this slide, probably you're familiar with this image, is an Amazon warehouse. Okay? And the robots that you see in orange are Kiva robots that move the shelves all around till the end of the last mile where there is a human operator that does the packaging. This is the way, the enablement, this automation is the enablement for us to have Amazon.com, to have Amazon Prime, to have Amazon Prime Now. I don't know if you have the delivery in 2 hours in this country, but without automation, it would be absolutely impossible to manage this kind of scale, okay? Same thing for, or even AWS, or Azure, or Google Cloud. Name a major cloud service provider, it would be absolutely impossible to achieve what they achieve at the scale that they achieve without the automation. The second complexity that we need to face, the second dimension, is the complexity of application architecture. Not just the complexity of the underlying infrastructure, but also the apps, the workloads that run on top of it. What do I mean by that? I will give you a practical example about this, okay? So what you see here, and admittedly is very, very small, I'm sorry about that, I didn't expect that, basically is a diagram of an application architecture, okay? So this diagram is the outcome of a journey that a very popular gaming studio presented at a meetup last year in London, where I live, okay? So there was this guy, this lead developer for this gaming studio, that said, we went through a journey, a transformational journey, where we started from a 3-tier application, a traditional old-school application where you have a web server, the middleware, the backend database, and then we moved from that to a container environment, and then from that we moved to a serverless architecture, which is the one that you see here, okay? You see that they moved from 3 tiers to 139 little elements that need to be cobbled together. To achieve this, there is no way, to achieve some parts of this, there is no way but to use automation. And this is just one single application. Imagine the thousands of applications that, on average, are in a large enterprise. Right now, we have just a few ones that are container-based or that are serverless, function-based. But over the years, you will see a transformation of your portfolio, hopefully, in that direction. How will you manage this sort of complexity? The only way is through automation. The third element, the third dimension, is a new dimension, and it's the speed of execution. The introduction of artificial intelligence that is creeping into every aspect of IT in every industry, from healthcare to manufacturing, you name it, and I'm sure you're reading a lot about this every day, is bringing an element, a side effect that we don't talk about at all, which is all the operation gets executed at a speed, the decisions get taken at a speed that was inconceivable before. After me, later in the day, Massimo Ferrari, who's over there, will present a session about a new initiative, and I will talk briefly about that. And he will talk a little more about the consequences of artificial intelligence in terms of speed. But the point is that if what's happening in your IT environment is being decided by you or by somebody else in your team or outside the company through artificial intelligence algorithms, it means that you don't have the physical time to react in the human way that you're used to. The notion of looking at the monitor, looking at the whatever you have, the troubleshooting system, the ticketing system, and take decision, that's going to disappear. It's going to be significantly shrunk in favor of an automation that takes most of the decisions on your behalf, because there is no other way. You would be too slow as a human to cope with the speed that is brought by artificial intelligence. So there is no way that a human operator can, no matter what is the job, network operations, IT administration, security ops, will ever be able to continue to do the job that we do today in these three areas without having the support of automation. Okay? In fact, automation is so critical that Gartner, the leading analysis firm, is pushing, has been pushing now for a couple of years, I think, the notion of the automation architect. What they are advocating for, what they're recommending to large enterprises, this is a screenshot of one of the main papers that talk about this, and if you have an access to Gartner subscription, I really recommend that you download it, read it, it's quite interesting. What they are advocating for is that in a large enterprise, somebody gets appointed as chief automation architect or automation architect. So somebody that is not just an architect, but somebody that has such an intimate understanding of the business processes and the way the workflows operate inside the organization and at an IT level that can take some of those workflows and transform into automation workflows, okay? This is a figure, a role that never existed before. That was inconceivable 10 years ago, even if we were already talking about automation. And now has become so critical that Gartner goes to customers, large customers, probably some of you that are here on stage today, and they are recommending, did you appoint an automation architect? You really need one. You will have no choice in the future, but have that kind of expertise. All of this is very clear to us, and that's why we've been pushing Ansible at every layer of the IT stack, or almost every layer of the IT stack so far. You know that Ansible was born to solve a number of use cases, configuration management, mainly for server components, for physical virtual hosts, and for application configuration, application provisioning. So once you deploy the underlying server, the operating system, you deploy application, you can deploy multiple tiers, you can configure multiple tiers, and so on. That was the beginning, the starting point. But then over the years, we've been pushing Ansible to new domains. Last year, we introduced Ansible Network Automation. What does it do? Ansible Network Automation, if you're not familiar with it, is basically applying the concept of Ansible to a number of network devices, switches, routers, load balancers, and add a layer of programmability to those devices without forcing organizations to invest in software-defined networking technologies. Nothing bad about them. They're great. And Red Hat endorses and supports communities that are behind some of the most innovative software-defined networking projects in the world. But there are a lot of organizations around the world that are not ready to deploy software-defined networking control planes, okay? Need more time, or is it too large of a scale? So what do you do until then? You just wait? No. You can use Ansible Network Automation to just control the network devices and get to that layer of programmability that is absolutely necessary to cope with those three complexities that I described before. Network automation is having a massive success. This is another of the achievements that we reached the last year that we're really proud of. okay? We started in May 2016, and as you can see, there was this progression of platforms that were supported or that were integrated with, that we integrated with through community work or directly through Red Hat work. And we reached the astonishing number of 700 modules that do the connection for 50 different platforms. What does it mean? It means that we are automating the entire networking industry. And that's what it means. This is a snapshot of all the different platforms that you can automate today through Ansible networking. It's incredible. Before doing this, there was no way to automate through a single language, through a single platform, through a single set of APIs, all those network devices. Some of them were just unmanageable in a programmatic way. Others require that you will learn the different technologies, the different languages, the different APIs that are specific for each platform. So this is the first time ever that you get to a point where you have a lingua franca, so to speak, a universal translator or a broker, call it in the way you want, to talk to all those platforms in a unified way. It's an amazing achievement. This year, just a few months ago, in fact, I was in Austin, Texas, and I announced this new push into a new boundary, new industry, that is security. So we launched the tech preview for now for Ansible Security Automation. Ansible Security Automation applies the same concept of network automation and extends it in a major way. Ansible Security Automation will be able not just to add a programmatic layer to all those devices and security solutions that are in multiple categories in security, but it will enable the capability to orchestrate those devices into a single response plan, okay? When you are under attack or when you need to verify the security level of your systems, and I'm not being too specific, too technical, Massimo will do later a presentation in the afternoon and I will go deeper into what this means. But once you are under attack, you need to verify how a system can sustain an attack of any sort, or how is compliance to certain regulation that you have in your industry. You never have to deal with just one device. And you don't deploy just one security device or security solution in your large organization. You deploy this constellation of 10, 12, sometimes 15 different things across multiple categories like the ones that you see there. And so when there is an attack, you need to coordinate the response. And the response implies changing some things on a firewall and checking some things on the intrusion detection system and review what's happening on the log management solution that you have and probably do other things on the endpoint. How do you do all of that? You do it manually today. And that requires in a large organization to talk with multiple with multiple teams within the same organization if it's very large, and that requires a lot of time to be achieved. With Ansible Security Automation, what we're doing is adding one layer of programmability to all those devices in those categories, but more importantly, way more importantly, we are allowing all these components to work together as a single thing, as part of this coordinated response. This has never been done in the security industry. I started my career 20 years ago in the security industry, and the same problems still exist today, and those problems have never been solved, in part because there is this lack of coordination between the different solutions across the different categories. So we're very, very excited about this. All of this support for categories and product and enterprise security solution or network solution and so forth boils down to one specific thing, which is we're supporting a growing number of use cases. This is what really matters. Nobody cares about that specific firewall or that specific router and so forth. What matters is that your business use cases are supported. You can achieve what you want to achieve from a business standpoint, okay? So we move from computer infrastructure and application all the way to networking and now to security. And when you think about the different layers of the IT environment, or an IT environment, you know that we, through Ansible, now can automate most of it in a formal way, okay? This is a complexity curve that was published years ago by Gartner, and that described the increased complexity in automating different layers of the stack, okay? And the most complex teams to automate, the most complex parts of the stack to automate are network and security, and we're achieving that through Ansible. I'm not making any commitment on stage, because otherwise somebody will kill me. Hi, Anna. But as you can see, there is only one dot that has not been formally covered so far by Ansible. So if we need to talk about the future of Ansible, this is definitely one area where we could look at, right? Wonderful. But then what happens? What happens after we put automation everywhere, at every layer? What are we going to do with this? Once you have Ansible everywhere, which is certainly a goal that we have in Red Hat, what is going to happen? What is the future of automation? Not the future of Ansible, but the future of automation. What will happen in that future? It's just a matter of automating as much as possible. Can we push the technology further? So, as you know, Ansible is all about the community. Red Hat does, I have to say, our engineers do an exceptional job in stabilizing the open source code and offering it under support and certification and all the wonderful things that Red Hat does. But without the community that creates the upstream code, we would do nothing. So it's because of all of you in this room and all the people around the world that contributed so much to reach number 7 in GitHub that we can think together about the future of automation. So the next few slides before I close are not really commitments of any sort, but it's me talking aloud, asking questions aloud to all of you as a community and suggesting direction where we could go together collectively for the future of automation. Short term, what are the main problems that we have with automation in general? Those are not just problems that you have with Ansible, but with any automation solution in the world. You want to understand better what's happening at the playbook level. The playbook is the name that we give to the automation workflows that you create with Ansible. So you want better understand, is my playbook running as fast as possible? Is it consuming the least amount of resources as possible? How do I know that? Is it better? Did I write the playbook in the best possible way? Or there is somebody else in my same industry or in another industry that wrote the same playbook in a more efficient way? This is an incredibly important question to ask, because if you run the playbook at scale, you can save hours and a lot of resources in having a more efficient playbook. So you want to know, you want to understand the analytics of this. You want to have some benchmark to compare with, okay? Then you want to understand, what is the cost impact of all of this? Am I running this automation workflow, this playbook? What is the cost associated with it? Can I save money by running automation versus doing things in a manual way? So a business justification for transforming more and more of your environment into an automated IT environment. How can I make it easier to write playbooks? Ansible is all about simplicity and a frictionless experience, and that's one of the main reasons of our success together, collectively, is that Ansible is easy to write and easy to maintain, easy to read. But can we do better than this? Is there something more that we can do? So these are just some of the points that you see in the slides, and points where you could expect the community as a whole, and certainly Red Hat, working to deliver new features, new capabilities, drive the future, the short-term future of Ansible. But what is the long-term future of automation? What can we do to evolve? And I want to leave you with a number of open questions, okay? Again, it's me thinking aloud, thinking with the community as a whole here. I'm sure there are brilliant people in this audience that might find the next few points interesting. We collaborate together in delivering what follows. So 2 points for you before I leave. Not certainly formatted in that way, no. It should be nicer, but I'm sorry about that. So first point, Ansible, as I said, is all about simplicity, okay? You want Ansible to be as simple as possible, faithful to the original plan, but can we do more about that? The second thing is an observation that's quite simple indeed, and is automation is about repetition. You repeat certain steps over and over and over. This is, at the end of the day, what automation is all about, okay? So let's think about these 2 elements for a second. Number 1, simplicity, okay? What can we do to write the playbooks, there's automation workflows that we call playbooks, in an even simpler way? What is the possibility? What we could possibly do to do that? The answer is we don't write them at all. 0. We don't write them. I know that a lot of you and a lot of people around the community love to write Ansible playbooks, okay? That's a really fast way to do. And I know what you're thinking right now. Oh, this guy's talking about user interfaces, like old school Blade Logic, BMC Blade Logic, or other products from other competitors that have a user interface. But no, I'm not talking about user interfaces here. I'm not talking about at all about that. I'm thinking about what happens if there is no need to write workflows at all, or even to drag and drop stuff in a UI. What happens if we don't have to do anything at all? What happens if we completely eliminate the coding from automation? I'm getting somewhere. Bear with me. 2, automation is about repetition. You repeat the same action over and over and over and over, and so you cut the time. But how do we learn about the steps that must be repeated in any given process? How do we do that? When we are kids, how do we learn about a process and then we repeat in a mechanical way? The answer is that we watch. We look with the eyes, and we repeat what we've been looking at, okay? So what happens if we could apply a certain specific capability of artificial intelligence, which is called computer vision, the one that is at the basis of self-driving cars, for example, but not only, also in other areas, okay, to automation, to UIs. There is a user interface, there is a common prompt. Those are elements that are visible to a human mind. What if also artificial intelligence could see those elements, okay? So when you combine these 2 questions together, not writing any code, and using computer vision together, you can come with something like this. The artificial intelligence could learn certain processes done by hand by an IT operator, could transform them into a playbook code that gets written for you. That must be probably refined by you, but could be written on your behalf. You think this is impossible, it's sci-fi, this is turning you into Iron Man, as I said at the beginning. Not quite, because there is a startup, and more than one actually, that already applied this concept. And you see that is a screenshot of an article, and the other one is a screenshot of the paper that you can go and download for something slightly different, which is the design of user interfaces, okay? So this is an exciting area of exploration that I invite you to think about as a community, and maybe we can work together on the future of automation in this specific direction. Thank you very much.